great personality permeates Liverpool people. So we do send our best wishes.
Indeed. Thanks for that, bro. Right. So we'll get back to the program now.
Yep.
Amarim apologizes to Manchester United fans. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I understand where he's coming from. I mean, in a way, I don't know if I were in his position, would I do that? Possibly. I'd say, look, we've had a shocking season. This is Manchester United. We haven't lived up to the shirt, to the reputation. And yeah, at the end of the day, we've let you down, and we couldn't even win the Europa Cup, which went to Tottenham, of course. So I kind of understand what he's saying, but it doesn't really console fans. I mean, they said they put every player up for sale, which they probably have in a way. And I know they were waiting for Bruno Fernandes to decide what he wants to do. I don't know whether he has decided if he wants to stay there. I would imagine if a decent offer comes in for him, which I would be surprised if it doesn't, because he's such a quality footballer, then he could be on his way. But yeah, they've got some rebuilding to do. Again, I don't know whether it's confirmed that Amorim will stay there. I'm not even sure he wants to. But
Mm,
again, maybe if another club came in for him with a decent offer for them to be his manager, for him to be their manager, then who knows? He may go as well. But the bottom line is, you know, to see this English team, which is famous around the world, one of the richest clubs it's been in the past around the world, with this wonderful following, to see them kind of on the floor, I take no pleasure as a football fan at all. A lot of fans do, but I've always looked up to teams like Manchester United, the players they've had over the years. You think of, Bobby Charlton, George Best. It's been a nursery for wonderful footballers and thrilling games. So I think it's sad, but then that's life. Everybody in life and every team in life is subject to the same cyclical, things that happen. Things you have ups and downs, you have troughs and hills. So it's life's reality. But I hope they rebuild pretty quickly. I imagine they've got the money to do it. Sir Jim Radcliffe clearly is a very rich billionaire. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, but probably too early to to be in any way accurate as to what they might end up doing.
yeah, that's very true. Now you said you're not sure if he actually wants to stay. That was echoed somehow in his one of his press conferences, because he said, whatever the management wants to do, if they want me to leave tomorrow, I'll leave. I won't, And I thought, well, hang on a minute, are you asking to be sacked? That was what it sounded like to
Mm.
me, and I'm sure a couple of other pundits as well. But then Michael Richards, one of the pundits, it did make a very a very useful observation. I can't quite find a word to describe it there, but it was quite. But what he noticed, he said Amarim is partly to blame for the poor season they had, or the part of the season that he came in. And he said, and he gave his reason, and his reason was that he refused to change his style. So he came in and he said, well, this is my style, and these players have got to. He said, and the players there came in and he said, well, this is my style, and these players have got to. He said, and the players there didn't understand his style. They weren't used to playing
Mm.
that sort of style, and he said he could have adjusted his, or just been flexible a little bit, Perhaps that could have helped, but it didn't. And I've never seen it that way. I just saw it as some players that weren't just, playing. They weren't just playing to form. But then when he said that, I thought, maybe he's got a point there. What do you make of it?
Yeah, I mean, I think any new manager coming into a club will very often be chosen by the board, by the owners, because of the style of football they play. Right. But it doesn't always work in the sense that you can't turn an oil tanker on the sea around in half a mile. I mean, it can take miles to slow down and and so with a football club, if they're used to a certain type of football, then I guess a new manager would have to be patient and maybe try and change things stage by stage. Others will come in. I mean, a good example of that was with my team, Crystal Palace, a few seasons ago. A manager was hired when I don't think one was sacked. I think one had left. Forget who it was, but it could have been Tony Pulis. I don't think he was sacked. He actually left. Anyway, whoever it was, the owners chose a guy called Frank de Boer. You remember him? Because he was known for quite an attacking style of football, which contrasted with the kind of almost safety first, almost parking the bus of the previous regime. I'm not saying that was Tony Pulis, but whoever it was a less attacking regime. So he came along. It's hard to believe now in a way, but he lost the first 4 games and was sacked. Well, when you look back on that, I say hard to believe because is 4 games really enough to write somebody off and say this ain't working, sort of thing? At the time, the fans, we were pretty annoyed about the way it was going, but I'm not sure many people would have said, yeah, this guy should be sacked, because I think at that point they brought in for the first time Roy Hodgson, and he then, I think, lost the first 3 games, and then he turned it round with his style of sort of safety first football. You go out, with all due respect, he was a good manager in many ways, but you go out not to lose rather than go out to win. So yeah, Frank de Boer didn't last. Now this time, the Oliver Glasner is very, very popular with the fans, and I think he's written himself.